What is up, LvLUp Nation, and welcome to the December 17th edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. We happen to all be friends here at OTN and at the LvLUp Live show as well. And that dude right next to me, he's here all the time. Like, you tune in, podcast, live stream, he's always here. Of course, it's the king of the courtside. It's Joey. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I might as well stay on the court side the way I've been playing in NBA 2K. I don't belong on the court.
Can't be that
It has been rough the last couple nights on there, but overall, John, it's been a decent week. I feel like we're getting closer to the holidays, toward Christmas time for me, so I'm pretty excited to have some time off work as well.
Time off work means Joey has more time to tweet, which means you should be following Joey on Twitter. You can follow him at Courtside King. While you're at it, for witty responses to Joey's hot Twitter takes, follow me at Fiasco as well, tweeting all the goodness in gaming and esports news as well. And while you're at it, you're already watching the show, you're already listening to the show, you might as well be following the show as well. LvLUp Live is available on Twitter and Facebook for the social media there, and you can find it at LvLUp Live. That's at LvLUp Live. So Nation, we appreciate that follow. We appreciate you following Joe. We appreciate you following myself as well. Again, those handles for everything can be found in the show notes below on the podcast, or if you're watching here live on Twitch, they're right in front of you on that beautiful screen you're currently staring at with two of our faces on it. I don't know if that's a good thing or not yet. And Nation, if you do wish to listen to the podcast version of the show, the LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening to the podcast version, why not leave us a review? Reviews do go a long way, not only giving us feedback, but it lets other people know you enjoy the show as well, and thus someone new may check it out and may become a listener as well. Trying to grow that community, trying to grow our listener base as well, so we do appreciate a small moment of your day leaving us a really awesome review. All right, Joey, it is the Thursday before the Thursday of Christmas. We're going to stretch it out. I have a 3-day weekend coming up. I had a half day today, Joey. I have a 3.5 day weekend. Like, I was good to go at 12. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I came home and took a power nap. It's what happened. But Joey, I'm fired up. I feel energized. I had a great day, which means we're gonna have some amazing topics too, right?
Yeah, kind of. So it's honestly not too big of a show today, guys. We have a few different things we're going to hit on, but it's not going to be as long as a normal episode. We have a little bit of roster move action toward the top. Then we're talking esports in the Olympics or the Asian Games. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some new games that are coming up, as well as some current DLC releases that just came out. A couple other things here and there, and maybe talking a little bit about the newly announced, kind of announced, not officially announced, but through an employee account, the Riot MMO based on the League of Legends lore. So we'll be diving into that as well.
Yordles unite. Let's do this. We're taking over Runeterra. I absolutely love it. All right, Joey, we have our topics, but doesn't mean we can start the show. There is a tradition here. There is an order. We have structured notes we're going off of. And the next thing on my bullet point is clearly the drink of choice, which means we can't get into the topics yet until you tell the LvLUp Nation what you're drinking today.
Guys, I switched things up. I'm going with a hot toddy tonight. So a little lemon, honey, water, and bourbon in this. So I'm excited. We'll switch things up. Lindsay has a cold in our house, so I've decided I'm going to continue to try to be anti-sick here. I have a little bit of a cough starting up, so trying to bump my stuff up as much as I can. For real, though.
Hey, it's 2020. What else can happen? Oh, my gosh. Well, hopefully you don't get sick, or hopefully Lindsay feels better. Hopefully you can hold that off, and if you do get sick, hopefully it's not the Rona. That would not be fun. On the other hand, Joey, Monday I gave my liver a break because I absolutely abused it over the weekend. It is Thursday. If I am the scientist that I play on television, like to think that I am outside of the workplace, my liver has fully rejuvenated into a stronger version of itself. That's why I'm back on the liquor, baby. We're going to dark and stormy in the Washington Capitals Stanley Cup Championship Cup, or glass, I should say, today. And there you go. Go Caps. Even though with the bad news about Hendrik Lundqvist, with the heart condition there, hopefully it's nothing too serious. And hopefully he can come back and finish up his hockey career in his own terms. But Joey, we're not here to talk about hockey. I could talk about hockey all day. I really could. We are here to talk about gaming and esports news. So why don't we kick it off, Joey? Let's go.
John, it might not be Lundquist, but it is another legendary player. This time in League of Legends, it is Nuguri. He is, in many people's accord, on many different ranking lists, the best top laner in the world this past year. He's now chosen his team. After winning Worlds with Damwon Gaming over in the LCK, he has gone on and moved to the LPL, joining up with 2019 World Champions Fun plus Phoenix. He's looking to run it back with a star roster over there as well. Again, this is probably the best top laner in the world. Now finding a team and a very good one at that.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. It's a big acquisition for Phoenix, Fun plus Phoenix, if you will. You know, two really strong teams. Again, we see another player leave the LCK to go to the LPL. Does money play a role? Probably. But the LPL, very competitive as well. We talk about the LPL and the LCK really being your S plus tiers, if you will, when it comes to League of Legends. So it's a good move. It's a new challenge. But Fun plus Phoenix, they're going to be scary next year. Like you said, Joey, an all-star roster going into 2021.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a very scary team. You have players over there like Do and B in mid, who's very good. Their bot lane is quite good. A legendary jungler as well, and now teaming him up alongside Nuguri in that top lane, another carry-oriented player who can, yes, he can play tanks here and there if he needs to, but overall known for those carry champions, known for putting a team on his back and doing that on the world stage as well. So really big signing there for Fun plus Phoenix. Speaking of esports in Asia, it has been now approved as a medaled sport for the Asian Games set to be held in Hangzhou, China in 2022. We do not know the titles yet, so we're not sure if it's going to be your League of Legends, your NBA 2K. Really not 100% sure which direction they go here. If we do base it on the closest thing, that would be the 2018 Asian Games. Those were held in Indonesia, and they featured League of Legends, Arena of Valor, Pro Evolution Soccer 2018, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and Clash Royale. So kind of mobile heavy there with Hearthstone, depending if you look at that as a PC or mobile game. Clash Royale being mobile, Arena of Valor mobile as well. And then Pro Evolution Soccer coming in. Mostly a console-based game when you look at their audience, but again, much smaller than FIFA. League of Legends speaks for itself. Huge MOBA game as well. So they're a little all over the place here, John, to be honest. Like, I don't know if they're going to go toward that League of Legends route, because one of the issues the Olympics has had before is the different fantasy violence going on in it. Like, you're not necessarily seeing a lot of blood in it outside of a couple champions here and there, but violence is one thing they're trying to keep out of the Olympics. Does that play into a poll here when it comes to the Asian Games as well? It very well could. When you look at stuff like Pro Evolution Soccer, that's similar to what we've seen before in other different competitions based on sports. You have your NBA 2Ks, your FIFAs, different games like that that are very relatable for a sports-based audience. Rocket League could be one of those titles we see come over as well. Hearthstone, a bit more card-based. StarCraft 2 has been around very much in Asia for a very long time. So I really don't know what we'll see here. If we look at the size of games, you have to think that League of Legends will probably be up there. CSGO is another big one. But again, I don't know if I see a gun-based game really making its way into something like the Asian Games.
So this is still a big deal. It was a big deal in 2018 because the Olympics, that's when we really found out the Olympics was really starting to think about the idea of allowing esports into the Olympics. And if there's anything we know about the Olympics, it's run by the boomeriest of boomers possible. These are people that don't like change. These are people that don't like thinking about what the next generation wants to see in the Olympics. They're very much set in their way. The Olympics have been around for a very, very, very long time. Obviously, there's no more, fighting tigers and lions anymore. You know, we're not in the Roman Colosseum and everything. So obviously, they've shown that they can evolve over time. And you'd have to make an argument with the impact esports has had in the world and how it continues to grow into a multi-billion-dollar industry and an like not just a gaming industry, but an entertainment industry. And we saw the positive effects that competitive gaming had during this pandemic currently still going on. It's crazy not to continue to think about this. The Asian Games, obviously, moving forward with it. Again, esports, very, very big in the Asian region. So it makes sense. And the Olympics is obviously going to continue to monitor it. But I'm sorry, like, I get it. You don't want violence in the Olympics. The Olympics essentially founded on violent traditions, violent sport, if you will. But you also have wrestling. You also have fencing. It's mock violence. And in the case of wrestling, it's not mock. Like, you're seeing people legit getting body slammed and like full suplex and all that other fun stuff on mats. But it's video game violence. Like, it's the same argument that boomers make that, oh, video games cause people to become aggressive and cause people to be violent. Like Grand Theft Auto really makes little Timmy want to go out and steal a car and run people over to get 5 stars and break into the military base. Makes complete sense, right? How many times has that happened? Producer, that doesn't exist. What's that? Okay, yeah, 0 times. So it's interesting whenever we have that violence argument or discussion, I should really say, when it comes to making esports more mainstream, especially in the Olympics. I get it. You don't want to expose kids to gore. A lot of these games have gore off settings. And if not, if a League of Legends wants to be featured, or if a Valorant wants to be featured, turn blood off, turn bodies off. Those are all options in the game. But then you have the argument of, well, do you want gun violence? That's a whole different bag of worms to get into. But I like this move. I applaud the Asian Games commitment for esports going forward. I just really wish the Olympics would take it seriously and at least open the door to a title or two as a trial run. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. The Olympics are, like I said, very stubborn, but I applaud the Asian Games for sticking with it for a second go around as well.
Yeah, I just don't see them adding a we can't even say photorealistic, but like a military-based shooter in there. Mm-hmm. I don't see a Call of Duty, a CSGO, anything like that getting approved in the near future. I think if you're going to go with a shooting title, maybe something like Overwatch could make it. It's a little bit more cartoony. It has a giant following over in Asia already as well. Something like that could be the first step forward in this if they do end up looking at FPS or third-person shooter games as well. I think for the most part, they'd stick away from those. I think MOBAs are popular. Again, RTS, maybe not as popular as it used to be, but it is a genre out there that does specifically well over in Asia with stuff like StarCraft. Arena of Valor, mobile games are huge in China. Again, very similar to League of Legends in general, but I think mobile games are another avenue that are accessible to people so people can relate pretty easily, and it is something that they can slide in here and there. But yeah, eventually, with a lot of the bigger titles being FPS and third-person shooter games, I do think they're eventually going to have to explore that route as well. Looking back at last week, we had a record get broken, and that was on Steam. Steam broke its concurrent user record this past week with over 24 million concurrent users. A big hats off to Cyberpunk for making that happen as well. They had a massive launch on the platform and definitely played a role in that record breaking. John, this is a record we've seen broken twice this year. Back in March, Steam broke their user record. I think it was around 22 million, if I remember correctly. And now with the launch of a giant game like Cyberpunk, plus a few other great games and some Steam sales as well for winter, it did end up pushing over that margin with 24 million.
Yeah. Again, like we're seeing records, like you said, Joey, get broken time and time again in 2020. People are looking for entertainment. Even your older Gen Xers that grew up with, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the N64, they're going back to their roots to find entertainment. There's only so much Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and anybody else who would like to sponsor the show that we can shout out there for you to watch and stream. I mean, so people are looking for other sources of entertainment, and who doesn't like competition? Like in a period where you can't go out and pick up basketball or go to a hockey rink and be in a men's hockey league or a women's hockey league or a co-ed league or a beer league or wherever it is, because of the pandemic, you look for a way to scratch that competitive itch, and video games. And we see time and time again, video games filling that void as we're waiting for the world to, quote, go back to normal with the vaccines and everything. So yeah, it's not surprising that we're seeing these records break time and time again. It's very encouraging. I'd be kind of curious to see if these numbers remain there once everything goes back to normal, if you will. See if these impressive numbers stick around, or is it just solely a result of the current situation with the pandemic?
Yeah, I think the pandemic definitely pushed these numbers forward overall. But when you look at how gaming has grown over the years, I mean, mobile gaming just in general adds like 5 to 15 million players a year, depending on what year it is. And I think that's just going to continue to happen on consoles as more people adopt next-gen consoles. With stuff like the Series S being as affordable as a next-gen console has ever been, that's going to be another entryway for different people to get into that market. You look at mobile, and now you have stuff like Project xCloud, Stadia, Luna, all these abilities to cloud stream to mobile devices, whether it be a tablet, whether it be a phone. The accessibility is getting more and more. And as we see the younger generations come up and more younger generations continue to adopt gaming, I think these numbers do grow over time. I think they will see a bit of a dip once coronavirus and the vaccine and everything gets a little bit more out there. But overall, I think, at least long-term speaking, these numbers will continue to go up. And I think Steam will probably break their record again, if not in 2021, probably in 2022, because there are a number of really great games coming out there. But again, Cyberpunk being a big reason, a huge launch this year in 2020, helping those Steam numbers rise. Vin Diesel, we talked a little bit about it at the Game Awards on our co-stream. Vin Diesel has joined the Ark II development team. So at the time, we knew he was starring in the game. He was going to be an actor within the game and doing voiceover work for it. Now we know he's going to be a little bit more involved as part of the development team as well as the executive producer. His actual title is the President of Creative Convergence. Quite a unique title coming in there. So my question to you, Jon, as someone who has played Ark before, do you think this means that we have more of a lore-based story come to Ark than what we've seen previous in games under the installment?
I think I speak for every Ark player when I state, who the hell knows? I don't think anyone knows. You know, Ark does some really weird things. They put a game out with bugs in it and they don't fix it ever. Like, that's going to be a topic we hit on later on in the show. But they don't fix it. It's a very buggy game. And, you know, there's a lot of issues with it, but there's still a very big dedicated fan base. So you take a look at it, you go, okay, well, obviously the fans see something here. They're willing to go through these glitches and bugs. Obviously, it doesn't break the game. So that's a good start. But then the developers then put out Atlas. And that ends up being just a map that was supposed to be in the original Ark, but they sell it as a completely separate game. And now they announced Ark II. So those are two things that no one really saw coming. So really, when you take a look at the developers for Ark, who knows what we're going to get? I would like a story. I would like a story mode. You know, how did these people get in this world? Obviously, there's some kind of like, you know, sci-fi technology, maybe some alien technology because of that wrist piece you see. There's a way to transport using it, but also you have to go back to the basics, like to your raw materials to start out. You have to build a wood shack, then you upgrade to stone, then you upgrade to steel and brick and all this other stuff. So like there's several different things that you have to go through in the game. So a story mode would be nice to kind of explain, give a little background. How did you get there in the first place? And who knows, maybe that might be a path that they can expand on and then actually have expansion packs that explore that lore, explore that storyline a little bit more. I feel like it's a great opportunity for them. Will they do it? I have no idea. I don't think the community knows either.
Okay, so as someone who's played Ark 1, because I have not, is there any kind of story-based game or any type of lore based in the original game?
So it is a true survival / discovery game. You load in and you are a human in the middle of a desert or in the middle of a forest or in the middle of whatever biome you choose. And then you start. You have to discover your own things. You have to discover things to do. You have to make things to do. If you want to go explore, you have to make the equipment to go explore. If you want to tame a flying mount, you have to go find a flying beast and tame it, which takes time. And then you have to feed it food, which you have to go kill other animals, and they only eat certain kind of there's a long drawn out process here, but there is no guidance. It is a true survival game with very little guidance possible. But the cool thing is it allows you to mod the game. And that's where a lot of the uniqueness from the community comes out, is they make these different mods to make it either A, easier, or B, more challenging. And then they put together community-based challenges. And they kind of just make up their own game that way. But no, there is no storyline. There is no direction. It's just literally log in, load, and live. Or try to, without a T-Rex eating you.
So it is kind of... Am I back yet?
You are, yes.
Okay, cool. So as far, I don't know where I cut off. As far as cutscenes, I don't believe there are any in the original Ark, at least from the gameplay that I have seen so far. So I would assume with this already having this high-res trailer, this great gameplay aspect to the original Ark, I think they could blend the two together for quite a bit of story play. Now, with that being said, you bring in someone like Vin Diesel. I don't think you just bring him in for a little cutscene here and there. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a deeper story, whether it's just something to guide you into a point where then you become that survivalist, or maybe it's something a little bit deeper. I really don't know. I could see them doing it where there's like a main story based option as well as just a complete custom game option, or maybe you can run part of that main story, but you can do side quests or do your own thing as well. I don't know. I feel like in bringing in that high of production and now bringing him on board as well, it just wouldn't make sense to me if they just kept it as purely a survival game. Again, I think that's what it does well, but I don't see any issue if you add on a story mode to it as well. So I think that's something we could see with Ark 2. And it could even be like Overwatch 2, the rumored next Overwatch game to come out, where it kind of keeps the base gameplay and multiplayer of the original, but it adds on that story mode as well. So it could be something we see here from Wildcard where they say, hey, this is a supplement to what you already have in Ark. We're going to have all Ark players have Ark 2 as far as the multiplayer goes, or the custom game, or whatever gameplay you want to call it. But then you can also buy this expansion for 30 extra bucks or 40 extra bucks and get access to the single player as well. I really don't know, but I feel like them bringing him on board as an executive producer means something else is probably coming from this as well.
Yeah, and I feel like if you've seen the trailer for Ark 2, it definitely gives you storyline vibes. It gives you a story mode vibe. So I think it'd be a little misleading if that's your trailer for your game and you don't have it. So I would like to assume that there's a single player storyline, or maybe a multiplayer storyline, or some kind of lore that's going to be explored. But you know, who knows?
Who knows? I do know there were a number of game updates that came out this week, though, John, since we've had our last podcast on Monday. A number of big ones, in fact, one of those being Cyberpunk. So on Monday's show, we talked a lot about Cyberpunk, how it's doing extremely well on PC, how game sales are doing extremely well. Stockholders and shareholders not feeling as great about the game overall, but still eventually seeing some growth as they did make all of their money back for the whole development of the game before the launch even came, based on pre-orders alone. So CD Projekt Red doing quite well with Cyberpunk so far. Now, it has got criticism, though. The Xbox One and PS4 versions are not unplayable, but graphically not at the level anyone would expect, including CD Projekt Red. They're not happy with it. They're working on 2 major patches to fix that. One will be coming out in January, mainly focused on bug fixes, as well as to upgrade the Xbox Series X and S versions and the PS5 version, giving them a bit more of that graphic clarity that they should have on a next-gen console, and a little bit closer to what the PC currently has for the game. And then on top of that, in February, they're going to do a major overhaul of the Xbox One and PS4 versions. So those are coming as well. So what does this mean for now? Right now, we got a little bug fix patch. It was a major one in a sense. They took out a lot of bugs. They squashed quite a bit. They upgraded some graphics here and there. But again, it's not really solving the issue that Xbox One and PS4 owners were looking for. And Xbox Series XS/PS5 owners, while they're having a great time with it, are still waiting for those enhancements for the next-gen systems as well. So in the meantime, this does fix some of these bugs. It makes things happen a little less frequently as far as the craziness of the bugs go, but it's still not quite at the level a lot of players were expecting outside of the PC version.
Yeah, so, I mean, this just goes back to the sense that, you know, congratulations to everyone who pre-ordered and bought the game. You just spent $60 on a game that you're going to have to wait 2 months for them to fix. Now, again, in a lot of these cases, the bugs don't make the game unplayable. The glitches don't make the game unplayable. If you're on last gen, yes, there are reports of the game causing your system to essentially restart and shut down and so on and so forth. Hopefully those get fixed as well. Not saying that any game releases 100% clean. Yes, there are bugs. Yes, there are glitches in other titles, but not to this extent. You know, again, you know, on the next gen and the PC version, it's not, the game's still playable. It doesn't break the game. But again, you have to ask yourself as a gamer over the past 10 years, are you fine with the idea of developers and studios putting out games that have these issues and still charging full price, and then you having to wait months, years, in some cases for other titles, for them to fix the game? That's a question I'm not going to answer. That's a question that you, the gamer, has to answer. If you feel that you're okay paying full price for a game that might only be 70% completed, or it might be 95% completed, but there's 5% bugs and glitches that need to be fixed, and you're willing to, play the game with them and wait 4, 5, 6, 7 months for them to get fixed, that's your decision as a gamer. It is a disturbing trend over the past 10 years that we have seen, and is, again, not in all cases, of developers and studios putting out games that aren't fully completed. Turn back time here a little bit. You go back to the N64. You go back to the original PlayStation before everything was really connected to the internet. The game shipped as is. Those games in cartridges and CDs could not be updated. There were no hot fixes. With the sense of the internet being connected to the consoles nonstop, they're able to push out patches and updates for these games. One could make an argument it's made developers lazy because they know they can still meet a deadline and revisit some glitches and some bugs here and there later on down the road, but still make the deadline because of the fact they can push out patches and updates for that game. So that would be an interesting topic there to think about for you with the gamer is, are you okay with this when the industry used to be, this needs to be fixed on launch because once it's out, versus now it's okay. We can get it as much done as we want or as we can, hit the deadline, release it and patch it along the way, still charge full price though. Again, you, the gamer, have to make up your mind there. If you're on a next-gen console or PC for Cyberpunk, obviously you're loving the game, you're having fun, the glitches aren't game-breaking. If you're on last gen, they are game-breaking. They are shutting your system down in some cases. You, the gamer, $60 for a game. Are you okay with waiting 2-3 months for this game to be fixed after you paid full price for it?
And again, guys, I think Jon is hitting on stuff pre-COVID here as well. This is not a new trend just because of COVID. Now, with COVID, it is definitely added on to these extensions. Cyberpunk was delayed from April to November and then again to December. So a lot of that was due to COVID. But when you look at it overall, it's not just this year that these have been happening. There have been games that have released quite buggy before. Gears of War, for example, a game I like quite a bit. Gears 5 released in September. It was rough. The servers were quite bad at the beginning. The multiplayer system was a bit broken, and you lose a lot of players based on that at the beginning. Now you see players starting to come back, but it's taken some time for them to work out bugs over the course of the year and to invite players back. It's not super clean when that happens. Now, with a single player game, I think it's a little bit easier than with a multiplayer game that really relies on a player count being there, people populating those playlists. So I think Cyberpunk has made some mistakes here, particularly with the last gen version. But when you look at the current gen version, it might not be as polished as it will be, but it's playable. It has bugs, but it's still a great game. It's still fun. When you look at the PC version, it's doing quite well as well, even with a little bit of bug action here and there. It's just, for me, the last gen version is the issue. To come out and not allow media to review that PS4 and Xbox One version, then you release it and it ends up looking like it doesn't have any kind of textures or anything to the characters. That, to me, is the bigger issue here. More the fact that they kept all of that hidden, not saying, hey, guys, this is going to be a much lower generate quality game than what we're going to put out on the next-gen consoles and PC, but purely saying nothing, pretending like everything is good. I think that's really where CD Projekt Red kind of faltered there, and I hope moving forward we don't necessarily see that from any other developers. Another bit of DLC that dropped this week is Gears 5's Hivebuster campaign. Again, Gears 5 is a popular franchise among Xbox players. It's not as popular when it comes to PC. They are cross-platform, so that helps a little bit here and there. The reason we have this one in here, not just because I'm a Gears fan, but it is actually being praised as the best-looking bit of content so far on next-gen consoles. This includes Cyberpunk as well. When it comes to graphical coalescence, this is the game, and it's not even a full game. It's like a 3-hour campaign. This is what's being praised. It's approximately 3 hours following Scorpion Squad, which is a team kind of thrown together around the Gears 5 mode Escape that they added into this franchise in this particular title. A number of news outlets are covering it, and they're saying it is particularly good. I know Jon and I are in a chat earlier this week. I posted from some screenshots from it and cut out the characters and asked him what game it was. He guessed Ark II. We had someone else guess Fable. It doesn't look like a Gears game in my opinion. Like Gears 5 looks great, don't get me wrong, but it's not a top of the line graphical game like The Last of Us or God of War or one of these really popular titles, Horizon Zero Dawn, that PlayStation puts out, and the environmental design is just next level. It's good, but it's not great. Looking at this campaign though, it is beautiful. The screenshots look phenomenal, from like sunrise, dawn looking stuff to rainforest levels to volcanoes. I'm not going to dive into everything to give anything away for those that are going to play it. But as far as the actual screenshots look, it is some of the best looking stuff according to many news outlets on next-gen consoles currently. Another game, this one was announced during the Game Awards. At least some of this content was announced then. It is Rogue Company, an up-and-coming shooter in the third-person genre. It dropped a new riot shield-wielding rogue named Sigrid this week, alongside a new map, Glacier, a spectator mode for its prospective esports scene, titles, masteries, and more. So if you guys have not checked out Rogue Company, it is free to play. On PC, it's on the Epic Store. It's also on consoles. I believe it's on Nintendo Switch too. So it is very much out there. Definitely give it a try if you haven't already. It's quite good. It does have its bugs here and there. It seems to be a theme with games in the COVID era at the very least. But it is a game definitely worth checking out if you haven't. And they continue to drop new agents. Again, it is still in beta as well. I think we've talked about it on the show a couple times before. So they're looking for feedback. The development team is doing a good job listening to people. And we're still getting new maps, new modes, new characters and such here and there. But overall, it is still in beta. So a lot of that feedback currently being taken into. Anything you want to say? So you talked a little bit about Cyberpunk, John. Anything you want to say about the Gears 5 Hivebuster campaign or Rogue Company before we move on?
I will just second the graphics for Gears 5 for the new campaign coming out. You know, after Game Awards, all the new games that came out, obviously when Joey posted those screenshots, Gears didn't come to mind. Like, there's a reason for it. Gears isn't known for their spectacular graphics. Yes, the graphics in Gears is good. Like, it's not like, you know, a MOBA game where it's like a cartoon that when you zoom in becomes a little pixelated here and there. It is a legitimate, like, well done game. Those graphics are fantastic. It honestly looked like it had to be a survival game where graphics are important, where you should be able to tell the difference between grass, sand, water, sky, mountains, so it was very, very good. So kudos to Gears 5 and their developing team. The graphics look fantastic. So I'm excited for that. I'm not a big Gears fan. You know, I've played Gears. Joey, I've attempted to play Gears with you. I apologize for how bad I am at it. But yeah, it's something I'm going to check out because just from a graphic standpoint, it's very, very interesting and it looks really, really good. So definitely be checking that out. And Rogue Company, you know, again, Rogue Company is still being in beta. They're still fixing things, still adding things. It's a constant fix. It's a constant update with them. I have to say, so far, so good for them. I feel like they're doing a really good job. They're addressing a lot of the issues. They're releasing new content, and the community seems pretty happy with it so far. So I'm excited for the new agent. I'm excited for the new map. Probably will be checking it out when it comes out. When I have a chance this weekend to check it out. And we'll get firsthand experience there.
Yeah, I think the other thing to add here is, even for people who don't follow Gears, this is that next step forward to seeing what we could see on next-gen consoles. So when you look at a game like Cyberpunk, it's doing really well graphically on the PC. It's doing decently well on the Series X and PS5, but it was a game designed for last-gen hardware, even though they didn't implement the textures and everything on it. That's what it was designed for originally. When you look at something like this 3-hour little DLC campaign, most of it was actually built on Series X hardware. So it's that first initiation of really seeing what that hardware could potentially do with a game that is continuing to start pushing forward in those limits. And again, as time goes, as the Fables come out, as the Starfields come out, as we see the next God of War, these games are going to continue to push those limits forward as well and give us really what the next-gen hardware is capable of. But again, this is that next step forward as we slowly move toward those 2022 releases. Last but not least, one other thing before this, actually, John. So in addition to these 3 major patches that we handpicked out this week, there have been a number of games entering into their winter holiday events as well. Valorant launched theirs off. Overwatch launched theirs as well. Gears of War has a holiday event. Halo. Pretty much any game you can think of has some kind of Christmas/holiday event going on right now. John, are there any in particular that you look forward to each and every year as we get around to this time?
I love the Mei snowball fight in Overwatch. That's by far one of my favorite. I think Mei is such a unique character. I love her voice lines. I love how evil she sounds during the snowball fight. I think Overwatch does a very, very good job with it. And that's pretty much the one I look forward to all year. You know, a year or two after Overwatch launched, I didn't play it as much. But But the winter event always gets me going back. Like, I enjoy playing May's snowball fight. It's a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to it again. It's a great game mode that I wish they had year round, but I know why they don't have it. It's to get people to come back to the game and potentially get them hooked again. So it makes sense. But yeah, that's the one I usually look out for every year.
Yeah, that is definitely a good one. And I have not played it yet, but Valorant actually looks pretty good this year as well. It comes with that similar mechanic where it is based on snowballs. You're hitting people. It's pretty much like an insta-kill as well if you hit them, at least from what I've seen. So that one does look pretty good as well. And on top of those game modes, you get the fancy skins coming out, whether it be for guns and shooters, whether it be full-on character skins like it is in Overwatch, gun skins, every different little aspect of customization coming out for the winter here. So exciting stuff there. Guys, get in your holiday events while they last. Most of them last about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at most. So it is a limited time for a lot of those.
Here you go, Joey. This just actually got tweeted out and confirmed by Jacob Wolf. Sony is issuing full refunds for Cyberpunk now.
Oh, finally.
So on Monday, we talked about how Sony is not even issuing refunds. They have now reversed that. And they have also removed Cyberpunk from the PlayStation Store until further notice. So that's pretty big.
Is that just the PS4 version?
It says PlayStation Store, period. So I don't know if that's going to include PS5. I will do some more research. We'll tweet that out when we get some more information here. CD Projekt Red pretty much going on the apology tour there as well. And Jacob Wolf can confirm, and I love the fact he tweeted it out because it kind of vindicates me a little bit, is calling it the No Man's Sky of 2020. So I appreciate the comparison I made earlier.
I think it's not a great comparison, if I'm being honest.
That's fair. I know.
I feel like No Man's Sky was in a very different situation. Cyberpunk is a game that they've had 8 years to develop. So much time behind this game, so much money. CD Projekt Red, in my humble opinion, is overrated as far as their price right now anyway. And now you're coming out with this game. And for me, again, I think it's great on PC. I think next-gen consoles, it's fine. My issue is the kind of hidden sneakiness that went around for those last-gen consoles. So if I had to guess, I think it's probably still available as a PS5 version, but I will have to confirm that one for you guys as well. Interesting, though. Jacob Wolf on the news trail there, covering esports and gaming.
And gaming. Look at that. It's almost like he doesn't work at ESPN anymore.
Speaking of, actually, Jacob has found his new position. He has not officially announced it yet, but he has signed a contract, so that should be coming out sooner than later of what he will be doing next as well.
Whoop.
Last but not least, Riot Ghostcrawler, and this happened just before the show, guys. He tweeted out his new job at Riot, in quotes, is to kick off a big, some might say massive game. He later confirmed in a reply that the game will be an MMO. So, looking at Riot last year, they had their 10-year anniversary for League of Legends. We saw Wild Rift, the League of Legends of mobile arena, in a sense. Then we ended up seeing other games like Legends of Runeterra, who's come out and really started to compete with Hearthstone right out of the gates. It launched in beta in January, a full release in April 2020. Then we saw a fighting game, Project L, I think, JL, one of those, that's going to come out later on as well. That one's going to play in a style, I don't really know if you can compare it to anything, but I would probably compare it to Street Fighter if I had to compare it to something. So it'll be a different type of fighter style game coming out as well with the characters from League of Legends. We saw Valorant come out, that with the full release in June. That one actually not taking place in Runeterra and League of Legends lore, but coming out with its own lore as well. Then from there were a couple other games shown, and we do have some one-off games being worked on through Riot Forge, their partner program too. But we can now officially state, at least based on this staff member tweet of a project lead, that Riot will be coming out with an MMO. John, we can pretty much guess it's going to be based in Runeterra. I'm pretty stoked about this, especially with Riot pretty much using a free-to-play model for the most part. When you look at a lot of MMOs, there is a subscription price on a monthly basis. Some are out there like Neverwinter that are quite popular that are free, and they have different ways of monetizing their game. I have a feeling that Riot will kind of blend between the two. I could see it going with no monthly sub and going free to play, and then using some of those options that we see in like a Neverwinter as far as ways to make people monetize. You look at League of Legends, it's a free game. It makes over $1 billion a year. They've found a way to make free games into quite big money makers. I would not be surprised if this is another version of that for Riot as well.
Yeah, and Guild Wars 2, another great example of an MMO that is no subscription based either. You just pay for the upfront cost of the game, which, you know, I think there would have to be some kind of, I mean, again, you could probably do it free. You're Riot. I mean, you've made tons of money off of free to play games. But I like the idea of it. I think by doing this, Riot's gonna have to take their lore a little bit more seriously. Tie up some loose ends, a lot of loose ends when it comes to their lore. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this develops. Now, again, this probably won't be coming out for years. It takes a long time to develop an MMO. You know, you have to build quest lines and then all the different regions, and like, yeah, you can start small, but you also have to remember, like, take a look at World of Warcraft. It's been around for 16 years now. You know, there are 3 major patch updates throughout the life of an expansion. A lot of times they have to release more zones because people run out of things to do. You can only go back and redo things so many times before you get absolutely bored out of your mind. So it'll be interesting to see. Warcraft is also a subscription-based MMORPG. So, you know, obviously they have money coming in on a monthly basis from their player group to help fund these updates and changes. So I'll be kind of curious to see how Riot goes about creating an MMORPG, whether they will keep it with the free-to-play model and use microtransactions for skins or cosmetics or anything else, or pets, in game. Something that Blizzard does as well. You can buy special mounts or special transmogs for your gear or something like that. So there's plenty of different ways to do it, but it is unique. I mean, Riot has developed a very unique world within League of Legends, and there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of regions, and they've really started focusing on lore in the past 3-4 years and really starting to release more and more information on it. So I'll be kind of curious to see how they tie all that together to create a storyline for an MMORPG. I'm excited for it, Joey. I think Ionia is going to absolutely rule Runeterra. So I am there for the Ionian Rule Fest.
Oh, sir, we know you're going to be spending some time in the Shadowlands. But I mean, yeah, seriously, they have. I think one thing people don't realize is how much lore League of Legends now has. As a League of Legends player, you're playing the MOBA. You're drafting, you're picking up a champion. Let's say you're ADC. You pick up Sivir, you're going to play it out, and then you go to the next game, you redraft. You really don't know too much about that character's backstory. And honestly, there really wasn't too much backstory a couple years back. Now, there's a full-on League of Legends website with tons of lore behind all these characters, and it's just continued to expand with Legends of Runeterra. When you look at the way how much they've put depth into these regions, how many of these cards are based on smaller, minor characters that may not be a League of Legends champion, but may have fought alongside them in the army, or maybe a servant to them, or maybe the steed that they ride into battle. Like, there's just so many different lore-based things that have come out because of the way Runeterra was formed, that now I think there's a lot more for them to build on, and a lot that has already been done that people just don't realize is already built into the card game as well. So when you look at, like, I think Warcraft is a good combination here. Warcraft and Hearthstone. A lot of Hearthstone came from what was already based in World of Warcraft. Most of those cards had some kind of base in World of Warcraft. I think Riot is kind of going to do a reverse in this sense, where a lot of that lore is based in Legends of Runeterra, and it's going to get ported over to whatever their name of their MMO is going to be. Again, the work is already done, and they're going to continue on to it because you're going to have to come up with quests, like John said, and leveling and armor and some kind of loot here and there, and all that has still got to be made up from the systems perspective. But when it comes to the lore, they've already done a lot of that legwork, and people just don't notice it yet. So if a Riot MMO drops, John, do you think you'll be giving it a go? And if so, do you ever see yourself playing it and WoW at the same time, or do you think you'll eventually be forced into a choice? It's a tough question.
So yes, I will play it. That's 100% given. I've played League since freaking beta. Like, yes, I will give League's MMORPG a play. Is it difficult to play 2 MMORPGs and be at the highest level in both? Yes. The amount of grinding it takes in an MMORPG to get your character up to a certain item level for in-game content, to unlock different storylines, or if you're a mount collector, to collect mounts. it takes a lot of time and dedication. There's a lot of gates that content is locked behind that you have to first open, whether it's, you know, collecting certain items that only spawn once a day and you have to collect 12 of them. That, you know, that's a 12-day quest you have to go on. You know, if like Joey, like, I mean, there's a mountain in the new expansion for Shadowlands. It's a 6-day event. You have to gather certain items and then bring it to this location that this NPC version of the mount spawns once every 2 hours and only stays active for 5 minutes. And you have to give them the items, and on day 6, after you give them the items, then you get the mount. That is
it's 6 days in a row too, right?
In a row. It's a 6-day commitment. That is almost a full 7-day week that you have to commit to finding these items, going to the mountain location, waiting for it to spawn, giving it the items, and then doing it all over again for 6 days. That is a massive commitment. And if you're trying to balance multiple MMORPGs, it's very difficult. The Star Wars MMORPG, I absolutely love Star Wars. I want to play it more, but my problem is I'm so invested in World of Warcraft, I can't find time to actually play the Star Wars MMORPG. And it sucks, to be completely honest, because it's like, MMORPGs require so much time. So yeah, you would be forced to pick one or the other if this is the if you're looking to do in-game content. If you're playing just because you love the lore, because you love your character, because you want to do the storyline, and you're just there because you're a lore junkie, yes, you can do multiple MMORPGs. I do not think that it's not impossible. It's just very difficult to play 2 MMORPGs and be at a high level going for in-game content at the same time.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. And I think that's one thing that not many people can accomplish unless it's like your full-time job. If you were a streamer who was purely known for playing MMOs, then yeah, maybe you can do it. But even then, I feel like most of those streamers stick to one game as well. It's just something that's very hard for a lot of people. So if you're someone who wants to play an MMO and you want to stick with WoW as your main MMO, that can totally be done. And if you want to dive into something like more League of Legends lore, you can play on this one on a slower pace as well, like Jon was saying. But again, this one's probably quite a bit down the line if we had to guess. I believe, I don't have the tweet up in front of me, but I want to say they were looking for people to help expand that lore. So it's probably still in a bit of a writing stage too. They might be doing a little bit of gameplay design here and there, but for the most part, still really diving into what the game is going to be and how it's going to build out. So we probably won't hear too much on that one for a little while. Maybe next October we'll get an update. Maybe the Game Awards as well would be a good spot. Game Awards 2021, we could eventually see something there too. Game Awards did extremely well. I didn't put it in the show notes, but I think it had like 86 million viewers this year, which is up from something like 40 or 50 million the year before. So they continue to grow their viewership as well, which has become not only a place for game awards like the Academy Awards or Oscars in their respective fields, but it's almost become a way to reveal big trailers as well. And I really think this could be one of those places where we see something like a Riot MMO make a debut. So I'm excited for this, Jon. Again, I haven't really stuck with an MMO. I think I played WoW for like 2 months and Neverwinter for 2 months, but I don't think I've ever lasted for a full quarter of a year playing an MMO. This one, if it's free to play and given the idea of knowing the League of Legends lore, I don't feel like I know it that well, but I could answer a few trivia questions here and there, and I'm a little bit more invested into it than I am like a Neverwinter or even a WoW. Most of my WoW knowledge coming from what Jon has told me and what I've watched him play in WoW. So I feel like I could get more invested into this one. But again, the gameplay really matters to me. The monthly payment matters. I'm curious what all of that will shake down to as well. I'm excited, though. If I'm being honest, I think of all the games Riot is designing, I love the idea of Legends of Runeterra. I don't sink a ton of time into it. I like TFT. It changes often for me to sink a ton of time into it. So besides League of Legends, I'm not like super invested in any one of their games. I feel like this could be the game that brings me a little bit further into that Riot Games realm. Anything else you want to say on this MMO or anything else on today's show? Guys, we are coming toward the end here. Like I said, a little bit of a shorter show today. Not too much happened since Monday. Jon, anything else you want to hit on, good sir?
Ionia. Let's do this.
Ionia, let's do this. So Jon will be inventing things over in Ionia, but for now, he's going to invent the ending of today's show.
I don't have to invent it, Joey. It's already pre-planned. Nation! The pre-planned ending goes a little bit like this. That will do it for this edition of LvLUp Live. But before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you haven't already done so, make sure you are following the show here on Twitch so you can catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, leave us a review. LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from our entire community. So much there are ways that you can reach out to us. Joey, what are those ways?
LvLUp Nation, head on over to Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live, LvLUP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media as well. Twitter and Facebook at OTN Media, Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, this show is broadcast on twitch.tv/OTN Media, Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with a number of other streams throughout the week. Guys, we will probably have an episode Monday, no episode next Thursday, with it being Christmas Day as well. So we will see you Monday.
All right, so make sure you tune in this upcoming Monday. That is December 21st, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Slap that follow and sub button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your entertainment pleasures. We will catch you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Remember, be nice to fellow gamers online. And Joey, as always,
Level up.